Right, people, we're back. And on this part of the podcast, we are going to talk about sequels, reboots, remakes, prequels, and all that stuff. Because basically, people, even if you're outside of the world of anime, we're talking about movies, Hollywood in particular, we're in sequelitis. We're in, so many shows are getting reboots, are getting sequels. I'm not going to say, oh my God, it's just taking over. But in particular, reboots are becoming very popular. And what we love about anime is the creativity. I mean, there's thousands of anime titles. But now we're starting to see reboots of even anime. And over the course of the podcast, I've got emails, people asking questions. I've even got some comments as well. So what I want to do is I want to get my man Habib here. Who's still here, by the way?
I'm still here. I haven't left you people.
He's going to help answer some of these questions, and we're going to get his opinion on some of these as well. So in case some people don't know what I'm talking about, you're talking about reboots. Recently, Fullmetal Alchemist got a more faithful reboot or adaptation, whatever you want to call
Probably
it.
better to call it a retelling than a reboot or reimagining. Like if you say a reboot, it's like this guy and you go, oh, right, we've just scrapped the original.
True. You see? What do they call that? Semantics matter. But Dragon Ball Z as well got, what's the right term, Habib?
What, Dragon Ball Z Kai? The retelling.
Sailor Moon Upcoming, that's a retelling as well, isn't that right?
That's a retelling as well.
Hunter x Hunter?
That's a retelling as well. Most of it, like stuff, anything that's been rebooted is normally a retelling, so they try to follow it strictly to the manga as best they can do. Or if they, like in Fullmetal Brotherhood's case, it's literally a animated version of the manga, but they literally went page for shot for shot, episode for episode to the manga.
So most of these retellings, let's just put it that way, because even Cash on Sins, Cyborg 009 is coming out, and some of the Appleseed movies that they've retold.
Yeah, they're all reimaginings and retellings. So I like the Cash on Sins. I mean, I love that series. Granted, I don't know much about Cash on Sins, the original, but I do know that Cash on Sins was a very good series.
Yeah, it was. I watched it recently as well, and I really liked it. I thought it was a little bit. No, it was okay. Overall, it was good. I don't really have much complaints, to be honest with you. But anyway, moving on. We've got some questions, and what we're going to do, the questions are going to open up a dialogue for all of us. So we're first going to start with our first question that comes from listener Dragon Age Lucy. First question: what reasons do you think govern an anime remake? Habib, would you like to answer that?
What governs an anime remake? That would be depending on the company itself that made the anime. Somebody in their office may decide like the anime right now in the market could benefit from a remake, and it could help push sales or whatever. But that's from a business standpoint of view, majority. So I mean, from a fan point, maybe story point. So maybe if it was following a manga, it's got to that point where the anime caught up, and they were like, right, we're going to have to give it an anime original ending, and you watch it and go, all right, that's fine. But I'd like to know that it could be a sequel, and then sometimes you know that some sequels never get made, so they do a retelling just to be like, oh great, a retelling. It's more strictly to the story, to the manga, to the source material it's following, and it works better.
Yeah, I basically, just to add on top of that, various reasons. I mean, like you said, could be a fan response, could be
a business decision,
a business move, because something like Dragon Ball Z that is notoriously popular. What's the thinking behind retelling the story?
Yeah, exactly.
The thinking is, from what I understand of what they've said, to give people a more condensed, straight to the point version, which seemed to have backfired.
Yeah, and to be fair, in the battle against Frieza, when Frieza said Namek was going to be destroyed in 5 minutes, I was expecting it to be destroyed in 5 minutes. I was lucky it lasted 20 episodes, because I'm pretty sure I'd have been upset.
So why did Kai fail then?
Kai was their attempt at trying to release Dragon Ball in a condensed thing where all you got was what pretty much what made Dragon Ball great was the fights. So they tried to condense it into fight scenes and throw it onto Blu-ray to make it that much more gorgeous and remaster it. But obviously it doesn't. Remastering stuff to Blu-ray doesn't always work. There are some animes out there where you watch it and you go, it just doesn't work. And also, it was Dragon Ball's anniversary, and I forgot what year, what it was celebrating anniversary-wise. It might have been 20, maybe more than that years or something, but it was celebrating an anniversary as well. That's why they released Kai.
Well, that sounds like a more, plausible reason for us to understand. And you've kind of answered the second question as well, which was sent by Black Star Gotenks. Is it good to make a popular, well-known franchise like Dragon Ball Z retelling or rehashes? Now, let me just say this. Sometimes when you've got a series that's been so well established, like Dragon Ball Z, and I see it being retold, I'm thinking to myself, you've already got the basis, the skeleton, the makeup, the ingredients of a good story that's already there. Why can't we do something different in the same universe?
No, exactly. That's a very good point. Obviously, it's not just Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball is probably the one anime franchise that's been rehashed and rebooted many, many times. Not obviously on an anime front, but on a game front. They've literally bled that franchise dry on the game front. So to the point where it's no point playing it, because you know how it's going to go down. And obviously with this year, there's the new Dragon Ball Z 13 movie, Battle of the Gods, if I remember that's the correct title.
It is, yeah.
That's obviously taken place in the gap between the end of the Buu saga to the actual end of Dragon Ball Z. So it'd be nice to see it, because obviously then you can take into the fact that Dragon Ball GT never existed. And I'm kind of glad, because as much a fan of Dragon Ball as I am, watching Dragon Ball GT did make me cry a little bit. Because that entire 26 episodes, or how many episodes it was.
I think it was 63.
Oh, even 63 episodes. It made me cry a little bit. I was just like, it hurts, because as much as I like to see Goku go to Super Saiyan 4, I went, oh my god, that's epic. That series was purely a money-based series.
Yeah. You could tell, there was absolutely no tension in it. It felt like the worst kind of milking you could ever do.
Yeah,
really.
And like Akira Toriyama, the mangaka for Dragon Ball, he pretty much said like, oh yeah, you can make Dragon Ball GT, but just let you know, it's got nothing to do with me, but you pay me the rights anyway. And he pretty much said that was a money bill for him. So it was like he doesn't need to work on any more manga ever again. He's pretty much milked Dragon Ball to the point where you can't get any more out of it.
We'll see. How long do you foresee Dragon Ball? I don't just want to harp on Dragon Ball. Let me bring up another example. I am so disappointed with Naruto. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Now, I think Naruto had a really great concept. I don't think it's a very good depiction of ninjas, even though I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on the topic.
Yeah.
It's basically teenage ninjas or whatever. I think it started off great. It had all that. But, the first series had a whopping 80 episodes of filler that nearly destroyed the whole franchise. Now, Shippuden, I stopped after, I think, episode 50 myself, because the shit was just dragging on and on and on. And now, all I hear is complaints from everyone saying it is one of the most dragged on animes of all time. And apparently even the manga is dragging on.
Yeah, I mean, I still watch the anime and I still read the mangas. And, like, the manga for me will always be the thing that makes it worthwhile. So where it is right now, it's a thing that the mangaka loves to do a lot. It's like he likes to build up a huge epic battle scene, and you get to the point where it's like Naruto's about to do this, he's about to face off against whoever, and he's literally mastered the Kyuubi's powers and whatnot. And at this point now, it's gone back to a flashback involving Sasuke and Orochimaru and like the Kages, and you're like, I don't know why we've gone back to do another flashbacker. It's like he likes to make flashbacks some key historical point in the story, but you go, that's fine. You didn't need to spend 5 chapters doing this, though.
All right, then let me pose this question to you. When Naruto inevitably finishes, which hopefully will be soon for everyone's sake, do you want to see Naruto Kai, a more condensed version where they cut to the chase?
Well, if it follows the way of Dragon Ball, it might not be as long as people make out, because the fight scenes wouldn't flow properly.
To be honest with you, I would think Naruto would work better, because I don't think Naruto, the tension in Dragon Ball Z is what made it good, but the story in Naruto is what made Naruto good, and the filler was always the biggest problem with Naruto for me. And I feel like if it was, once they get it all out, if they condensed it, would I watch it again just to get to the story? Maybe.
Yeah, okay, fair points on that. But the thing is, though, with Naruto, it's not just about the fights itself, isn't it? So with Dragon Ball, it was primarily majority of it was condensing the fights down. Where Naruto, it's not always been about the fights. Sometimes it's the interaction between like when Sasuke and Naruto had their little speech at the Valley of the End. It was like that was quite an intense speech between the two of them.
Yeah, but what I mean is filler episodes.
I mean, the filler episodes are just production ways of letting the manga progress. It's like Fairy Tail, for example.
Exactly.
Like the anime run ends on the 30th, the current storyline, and then after that it goes into a thing called Fairy Tale Best, where they show the best episodes of Fairy Tale up to date so far. And the reason they're doing that is because they want the manga to get further, but they're actually not that far from catching up.
You know what? You've put such a good segue into our next question. So let's just move on with that, because it's basically what we're going to talk about anyway. This question's from Yuri Mage for Hire. With most animes, the source material manga are never completed when the anime is produced. And as a result, many animes stop abruptly and never get completed. And in these cases, do you think a show would do better with a remake or just a sequel continuing where the previous left off?
That depends on the series that it's been made into an anime and the source material it follows. For example, there was this strange. This question was actually brought up in an anime. It was called Orona no Imoto. What was it called? It was like My Sister Can't Be This Cute, is pretty much the translation.
Oh my god, I remember that one. Yeah,
you know, in it that Kirino was the main girl, and she had like a huge thing for like Erago games and whatnot, and her brother ended up joining some like club and whatnot, and in between that, there was an anime that they were pitching for a TV series to be made based on one of the anime series or games that she follows, and they wanted her to partake in it. Now, I think it's this one. I'm pretty sure it was. The question, there was an episode where they sat down with company heads to discuss the making of the one of the series she follows or books she follows into an anime, and they themselves said, "Look, we're going to do it for a 13-episode run. We're going to take probably the first 3 episodes and say it follows the source material, and after that we'll give it an anime original ending." And like that's the thing, how they did most things. They just do it because they need something to fill time slots in Japan.
And I don't think the creator's going to complain. No, the mangaka is going to be like, oh my god, don't do that because I ain't finished. They're going to... If you watch Bakuman, the series, there's a series that shows 2 mangaka that are dying to get a serialization and an anime.
Yeah, I know Bakuman. That is a very good look of how hard it is for mangakas to get their... like amateur ones to get their stuff serialized. And if it does become an anime thing, they kind of like, yeah, we've got it. But then most anime companies will screw you out of it. Like there was an article a couple of years ago, and there was one pretty recently about a mangaka. I forgot what the film was, but apparently this film had been made based on on his works, and they'd done it into a live action. And instead of him getting like a massive percentage of the profits, he ended up walking away with about $10,000 worth of profits overall. And you're like, well, it's the guy's source material. He should be walking away with at least a good few extra zeros at the end of that. We should probably get back to the main question. Like, obviously, with animes following source materials and whatnot, there are certain series that I've watched where I've been like, they so blatantly should have stuck to the source material. Or
if that's the case, and these mangaka are excited to get publishing, do you think that this is becoming more of a heartless endeavor for some of these people that care less about the story and just are happy to carry on and drag things out? Because people hate shonen anime. People hate long-running shonen anime. They really do. Whether it's the big 3 or anything that looks like it's going to be a big 3, to be honest with you. And, I don't know, man. To be honest with you, some of the stories, like Bleach got cancelled. Let's put the anime got cancelled and the manga's still going on. And when I hear about the manga, it still sounds okay.
It does, but it's still following that same thing he did in the middle of the Aizen arc when they were doing it in the manga, where it felt like they were prolonging it longer than they needed to, and you could have easily rounded this up in like half the amount of time. Like
that was my question. Yeah. Do you think they care more about the story itself? And because if they did, things would end quicker, and then their serialization would end really. So
yeah, don't get me wrong. It's like, if they cared about the story and they wanted it, for example, Ken Akamatsu, this is a good example, I suppose. Like, he is like famously known for doing Love Hina, AI Love, and Mahou Sensei Najima. So he finished Najima last year in the summer. Like, it came to a conclusion, and everything in that story for Najima was good up until I think the last book, where it felt really rushed and ended quite weirdly. So I was kind of like, that was about a 38-volume book series, and it kind of dwindled down into this like really rushed up, and I felt kind of disappointed with how it ended. But he himself has now announced that he's going to be starting on a new manga this summer, and Love Hina, as we've all known and read, ended in a really great way.
Mm.
So like that's a guy that's a story that actually, like, I think that was only about 12 books anyway, but it was still a short 12-book storyline, but it was still good though.
This is my thing, man. When anime are planned with a beginning, middle, and end, they're some of the best animes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That have clear beginnings and endings. But, I always say this, and I'm not going to go on about this. One Piece to me is like the exception. It feels like, of the big three, or what was the big three, the only one that warrants an ongoing story.
Yeah.
Like, Naruto just seems like we all know how it's going to end. It's going to end with a battle between Naruto and Sasuke, but they're just prolonging it, and they're giving you all this exposition that isn't making the story all that great. Now, I stopped watching Naruto a long time ago, so I know it's rich for me to be putting my 2 pence in, but that's how I see it.
No, and to be fair, it's not that far an assumption to come from anyway. It's like, yeah, it's inevitable that like Naruto at the end of the story, it's going to go this way. Naruto will become Hokage. Sasuke and him will have their inevitable battle. And that's pretty much it. I mean, Naruto and Naruto and Sakura will get together just because it's going to end. How my brother and I talk about it is that sometimes we see it as it's going to go the way, like, Naruto does everything that he's meant to do. He ends up getting what he wants. And when he has his own child, his child will become the next Jinchuriki, but his kid will live the life he was meant to live in the world of peace and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's my brother and I say. Whether it comes to fruition or not is another matter. Like, Bleach, I just want that to end really damn quickly because I'm getting really freaking irritated with Bleach.
Really? I'm surprised you're more irritated with Bleach.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Bleach. I was one of the when the Bleach was upcoming and Naruto upcoming, One Piece upcoming. Like, my brother got me into One Piece. So I'm kind of glad he did. Naruto I watched just because I found it absolutely amazing to watch. It was like back then we all remembered why we got into the big three just because back then they were great stories.
Yeah.
Bleach is one I've always enjoyed just because it started off like the first episode had me in hysterics and that's what hooked me to it. But as it's gone on, the manga has, I think it's just Kubotai in general, he has done things to the story that makes it unnecessary to be this way. I mean, all he needs to do, I mean, if he wants to just get back Bleach's popularity to where it was like 5 years ago, just go back and read with his star, remember what made it great, and just try to not, I don't want to say copy it per se, but try and modify it so you've kept your basics, but at the same time you've made it a little bit more interesting, and you've made it so people go, this is why I remember reading Bleach, this is remember why I got into it, this is why it was exciting in the first place.
As time's gone on, it feels to me like shonen anime is just a totally different beast.
Yeah, that's the thing. I felt that too. Is like over the years, like Naruto and Bleach have made this drastic jump into something else, and probably not just that. I mean, who else is that? Fairy Tail. It's like that is another long running series in the shonen series. But for some reason, Mashishima? He has made Fairy Tail constantly exciting every week. To date, I don't think I've read a chapter of Fairy Tail where I've gone, that was a boring chapter.
People have said Fairy Tail is a series without the filler.
It's got some filler in it, but it's like 1 or 2, maybe 3 at best. No, I stand corrected. It'd probably go about 5 to 10 episodes of filler at most, just because they want to spread it out. But in that time, they do nice little interweaving of links to the next arc, so it flows nicely. Like, he also, like, when he did Rave Master initially, like, that manga was amazing to read. Like, when it came over to the UK or to the West, it was kind of like, you got to, I think, the last 3 volumes, I want to say, or maybe from volume 30 onwards, there was an issue with the books being released. Apparently, I think it was Tokyo Pop that initially had the rights to do it, and I think at that point Tokyo Pop had just lost the license to it. So they were like, right, we've lost the license to produce the last set of Rave Master books, so you're going to have to wait. And that was like 5 books, and I was like, I'm at book 30. I need to know what the next 5 are. I need to see them end. And then I think it was like a few years later, like a few years ago actually, somebody finally licensed the last 4 books to be released, and I was like, thank God it's finally done. Like, but when he did the anime did quite well for itself as well. However, because I think it was about 4 volumes from catching up in terms of where they were in storyline, they cut it at a weird place. So, like, obviously we're going back to like the previous question of if animes needed reboots, which one, from source materials and everything. Like, Rave Master would be one candidacy I'd throw forward.
Yeah, and let's get to the core of the question before we actually forget. Basically, the core of the question was most of these animes has abruptly stopped. Let's just use an easy
Hmm.
example. A very popular anime people do like, but because the manga's still ongoing, it stopped was Claymore.
Yeah, no, when that I understand as well why it did what it did, because with Claymore, most anime series is right now are all like month. Most of them that are turned into animes are monthly, bi-monthly ones, so they come out once a month, so they're about 40 pages long. So you're not going to get a lot of material done in that time.
Mm.
So it's like unlike Naruto and Bleach where they're weekly shonen stories and they come out every week. Stuff like Tenjo Tenge, Claymore, Berserk, Gantz. I could reel off a list of bi-monthly ones, and these things have been going on for years. But the thing is, though, the anime can catch up with them really quickly because they come out once a month, and sometimes in that month you don't feel like it's progressed that far.
Well, let me ask you this question, just to cut to the chase
Mm-hmm.
again. Do you think it's better to have a sequel on top or just to do it again? Because what you got to understand is some people just get fed up with the waiting, they forget about it, and then when they hear a second season come out, they might have lost interest. So nowadays,
Yeah,
I don't think Hunter x Hunter is a good example because it did stop. I think it was 2005 when it stopped or something.
round about that mark.
Now
Yeah.
it's come back, and now it's come back, and it started from the beginning. Do you think it's better just to go about it that way, to just start again and do it properly when you're ready to finish, instead of trying to come with a second season?
I suppose that varies on the series as well, isn't it? Because Hunter x Hunter was a series that was back then. I remember it was severely overshadowed by Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece. Even though it's a shonen anime and a shonen title, it was heavily overshadowed by those three. So I think
Still weeks.
it kind of is, but I think now because obviously Bleach is gone, they're hoping that Hunter x Hunter can get a new following and it comes up and takes the place as one of those. Like the same can be said for D Greyman as well when that came out.
Oh, God, I hate that show.
I love it. That's the thing. I thought it was a very good show. I mean, the way the manga's gone right now, just because of the whole hype. This is probably another reason why certain anime series don't get to go as far as they can do. It's mainly because of the mangaka as well. They let personal life.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to say like obviously they're entitled to a personal life, but sometimes personal life interferes with their work more than it should do.
Of course.
It's like who is it? Like for example, Black Lagoon has just been announced. It's coming back. The serialization for the manga is coming back because Volume 9 was the last one that came out, and I think it was at least 2 years ago that I was like, "Where's Volume 10?" I've been waiting for Volume 10 for God knows how long, and I thought it was cancelled. I didn't know what had happened to it, and I think someone posted on a site, it might have been Tyra actually, Planet Tyra, that they posted that Black Lagoon was coming back after a 2-year hiatus, and I was like, "Oh my God." I didn't even realize it'd been on break for 2 years. I actually thought it just ended at this weird point. And I was like, all right, fine. But apparently the mangaka, she's come back and gone, yeah, we're coming back. And it's now, here we go. We're ready. And
There's a couple. I just heard that Desert Punk is coming back. The manga's coming back as
yeah,
well.
that as well. Another one, High School of the Dead's coming back as well. But for High School of the Dead's been that anime manga where I have loved it ever since I first picked it up and read it. And that mangaka has been so back and forth with it. It's been ridiculous. So it's like he started off and it built up so much popularity of how good it was. It was obviously, I mean, if you've seen the anime, you're not that far stretched from the manga. It's like, except for the manga can go in a bit more detail on the gore and everything.
Well, you know what? Let's. I don't want to go off because we've got a couple more questions.
Yeah,
to constrain this. Let me just say this: the way that this is working out is very difficult. I don't think the way that anime is produced and the way the Japanese live, and I think I would advise people to Bakuman to have a little window into how some people have lived with, creating anime and manga. I don't think it's gonna ever resolve to be clear cut.
No, it won't. It's because I think now anime or manga and anime are more closely intertwined than a lot of people than they used to be years ago.
True.
So it's like if a manga has gained a good sense of popularity, an anime company will approach the manga and go, we want to make a 13-episode stint on this. Do you mind? They'll be like, no, but it will eventually boost sales of the manga. And it's supposed to be one of the things that if the manga does well enough after the series has been released, it could probably warrant a sequel. Like another one I did, what was it I did it? I want to say Dog Days, but that's probably wrong. It might be Dog Days. Dog Days, I know has a manga out for it, but it's a very light. It's one of those what they call light novels attached to it. It did a series 1, and I think at the same time the manga had done that. Then it warranted a season 2. I think it's boost sales to the manga, but I might be wrong on that. But the thing is, the popularity is warranted a sequel straight away. So,
all right. Well, I hope that answers your question. You know what? I think the best way to answer the question is the situation is complicated.
It's more business than it is fanfare. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. It's not gonna be easy. These things are not easy, and I think you said it best, Habib, when you said it's kind of a case by case situation, really. You can't say on a whole that, oh yes, things are gonna work out, and no anime will be produced until the manga's finished. It's never gonna work. It just doesn't work like that.
Well, in that case, we're gonna have to wait ages for Berserk to finish then.
Oh, Berserk. Yeah, dude, yeah, that's a great example. Thanks for bringing. That's a great example. But anyway, let's move on to the next question, which might even be longer than this last response. What are your top series you hope to get? Well, remake, reboot, retelling. Let's just put the three together.
Okay. Well, we spoke about this prior to recording that I could have written an A4 list of series that I would love to see remade or rebooted or just sequeled. It's like, I mean, there are a few that I can give. So I mean, let me just delve into my book here.
Give your list, Hab. I've got a top 10. I think I've got an 11, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. One I would like to see redone is GTO.
Really?
Because don't get me wrong, the original GTO was funny as hell, but
yeah,
if it went with the manga, that'd be even funnier. I mean, the manga had me stitches.
It was even better than it was in the anime.
Yeah, I mean,
really?
no joke, dude. If you get a chance to pick up GTO in the manga, right, seriously give it a read, because it is hilarious, the stuff that Onizuka gets away with. I mean, there's a part where, I mean, he's very open about the fact he's a 22-year-old virgin, right? And he's like, oh, I'm a young man, I have to have my my private time and stuff like that. There are bits where he just gets away with so much, and it's so hilarious how he does it.
All right, let me just say this. You saying that, does it now have an end? Because in the anime, it ended when he went to teach high school instead of middle school.
Like, that was an anime original ending. So the way that ended was him obviously being on the run and going to America to teach a bunch of bikers about English from a Japanese guy who's just escaped from Japan to America. But the the manga's already finished years ago, actually, and they've started up a sort of like a prequel manga called GTO Shonen Days, which is based on
his time as a gang leader, right? I think I heard about that.
Yeah, that's a really good series.
All right, so you want to see a retelling, a complete, a more faithful manga adaptation?
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
Because it's seriously funny, and I'm pretty sure if that got remade, it would probably bring comedy, a bigger side to comedy of anime that's been missing for a while.
All right, let's take this in turns, because I don't want to do it'll be boring to hear me go on. So I'll just go on my number one first. My number one is I want to see a reboot of Rurouni Kenshin.
Really? Why?
Because it's, as an anime, I think the story is really good, but I've got the anime collection. Yeah. I think it could be done.
I've got it as well, so I was a little bit surprised you chose it. I mean, I can understand the later half.
No, I just think it deserves a better animation than the original, because the original's okay. I think it was 1996, but I know they did the Kyoto movie, which, to be honest with you, I just thought...
Wait, are you talking about the live action one or the actual anime Kyoto arc?
No, not the live action one. No,
that's good, actually.
The animated one. Yeah, no, the animated one. Just that focus on Kenshin and Shishio. Yeah. I seeing the animation, I'm like, I want to see the series redone, because I think it's one of the best anime stories ever.
So are you saying you want it to be remade on a production basis, or you made it
on a production basis?
Right, okay.
Not
so
on
you want it to have a facelift in a sense.
That's all. That is, sorry, I should have been very specific.
When you said you wanted it redone, I was like, what, the entire thing? That's I mean, don't get me wrong. After the Kyoto arc, I was like, okay, this whole new separate original ending was a little bit pony. Yeah. But I mean, I would have preferred if they were like, here we go, here's the actual finishing to Kenshin. I went, fine, okay, do that as a separate series. That would have worked.
Well, if they combine the old, because they have the prequel OVA and the end OVA.
Oh yeah, I don't like those. Those are kind of like the Eva stuff that we talked on the last podcast about. They're not proper endings. They're just sort of like, we just need to type the Kenshin storyline. Here we go.
I like them, to be honest with you, and I would like a story that encompasses all of that as just one go, new animation, nothing wrong with the story of Kenshin at all. I completely love everything about it. Just a facelift. So thank you. I'm glad you made made sure I was clear on that. It's just a facelift I want.
You just want a facelift. Because if you were like, oh, the story needs a retime, I'm like, dude, we need to have words off mic.
Come on, man. Some of his techniques, the Hito Rugi style. You don't want to see some of them techniques in HD, with proper fluid animation habit. What's wrong with you? It's your turn.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I did mention this before. Rave Master, I would have liked to seen redone. But okay, barring Rave Master, there was another one, Phantom Requiem of the Inferno. I know somebody on Tyro. I think it was Mac might have done a review of it, or he's doing another review of it. That is one. When I sat down to watch that, I was actually impressed by it a lot. Because, like I said earlier, it was done by this people who made Fate series in general, and this is also based on a game as well, which has got about 19 very, very different endings you could choose from in the game. But when I watched the anime, I was kind of like, okay, it's getting good. I like this. Kid Assassin's a genius. There's only one in a feud who can do it. And then when they got to the end, I went, you fucking son of a bitches, man. You've just screwed me over on a really good anime series.
You see, you exposed yourself because we reviewed that on the last episode. We reviewed that in detail, and all three of us, it was me, Mac, and Angel, we explained our problems with that series, man. And we was looking for people who liked it. So I guess it's you and Miniman 31244, whatever his name is. You guys love the anime. A lot of people love the anime, but I thought the anime was a mess. It was a big mess. It felt like a computer game. I know it is a computer game, but 3 different stories in one. And you just said it. Well, we already did the review. I'm not gonna go into it again. But what I'm saying, you said what genius killer, 1 in a million. In the anime, some random little girl somehow had the same techniques as the main guy.
Oh, okay. You're probably talking about what's her name?
Claire, what's her name?
Cal Devon.
Cal, yeah. Whatever.
She's not like obviously, for Phantom is obviously there's Iron, who was the first girl who was the puppet master created. Then there was Zwei, who was obviously Eiji, who was in a sense supposed to be the just genius as killer. And then Cal, who was Drei in German, she is in a sense another version of Eiji. She wasn't just by random thing. She is in a sense another version of him. But the messed up thing was, though, it's like because of the way Phantom went down. I didn't actually listen to that one, the last one, so I'm not sure how far you went into it. There are as the anime ended, I kind of went, that's a crap ending. There are about God knows how many different endings you could have done for it, and the one that I know of in the game that would have made me, not saying it would have been the best ending, but one that I thought would have been quite suitable. There's one where he ends up taking over the entirety of Inferno.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like he ends up like going back and killing out everyone. So like the puppet master is supposed to be like the last guy he ends up killing, but he ends up working his way to sort of like being second in command of the Inferno of Vegas. And by that point, Inferno has literally branched across all of the states and are breaching over into pretty much most of the world.
I really wish we had you on the review now. Because, we have to move on, unfortunately.
No worries, man. But yeah, it's like the way it ended was him killing everyone that was above him and taking over, and he had Cal as the new Phantom.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was an ending I would have thought miles better than the one they initially gave it.
We're gonna talk about that off mic.
No worries.
But you wanna see you want to see a retelling with an alternate ending that was in the game, is what you're saying?
A retelling of it. I mean, everything up to a certain point of Phantom was good, but then as soon as they started diverging to that stupid ending they came with, I was like, no, you need to give it the ending it richly deserves. They had like 19 to choose from. Why did they pick a 20th one that didn't exist?
All right. Well, I would like to argue with you about it, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, my next choice would be an easy one. I mean, this is you're just another fanboy, but Legend of the Galactic Heroes, it needs a facelift.
Yes, that needs a huge facelift. That's a great story, but it needs a massive facelift.
It needs to be told. It has no license. There's only a fan sub out there.
No, that's the sad thing. That's an anime that blatantly needs to be licensed.
It needs and it needs a facelift. I think it would be one of the greatest space operas ever made.
Yep. Yep, exactly.
So that's simple. You're right, man.
Let's see. The Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles. That I want to see redone.
Oh God. I don't blame you. We did that was that was one of our first reviews on this podcast.
I remember listening to it as well.
After those two OVAs, I don't blame you. It was another one where the first two seasons I was like, this is just whatever. This whole show could have been on the Disney Channel. It's just it's an innocent little traveling journey about a girl capturing her feathers, getting back her memories. It wasn't anything. Then those two OVAs, wow.
Yeah, I know exactly. Tokyo Revelation. That's the thing. The manga itself, like I've got all the mangas, and I waited patiently to get all that completed, because I was even remember reading when they did the scanlations on the net, and I was waiting for it to come up, and then because I was waiting for it week by week, sometimes I forgot like what the last chapter said. I'll be going, I completely don't understand these chapters. What the heck just happened? And for me, it started off at a really good point, but when they did the Tokyo Revelation part, I went, oh my god, this thing just just did a proper 90 and kicked me in the nuts, because I wasn't expecting it.
Was the manga? Let me just ask you a question. Was the manga like that, or of that tone?
Yeah, it really was. Not from the beginning. From the beginning, it's very similar to that. The anime, it's a little bit, lovey-dovey between the two. The guy's trying to get back the girl he loves, like memories, but in doing so, he would have to sacrifice his memories of her, her memories of him in order for it to happen.
What was his name? Sharon and
Sakura.
Sakura.
It's quite literally the same two names they did for Cardcaptor Sakura as well. And that's the thing, it starts off and it's all lovey-dovey. Like season 1 is kind of quite close to what it's due. Season 2, they venture like they did with like all of them, they go to an anime original ending. But when the manga concluded, I kind of went, that was awesome. I would have loved to seen that properly done in an anime form, like how it should have been.
So what do you want from this retelling? That's what I want to know. Do you want a darker story?
I want it to be slightly darker, but I want it to follow the manga how it should have done. Like the beginning part's being all cute and everything is good to get you into it, but once it hits the dark side of that anime, it needs to show it fully all the way. They can't hold back a little bit. They need to completely show it off. I mean, I know there's some things where they'll be like, oh, because of this and the time slots, whatever, business side of it, they'll restrict it to a certain point. But it'd be nice that they could follow it properly. Like they actually went true on the manga and everything like that.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll go up next, and I'm gonna group mine into 3 because they're all manga releases. Right. The good old classic mangas. One of them, everyone will agree with me. If you don't agree with me, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. You're not an anime fan. Ninja Scroll TV series.
God, yes.
What were you thinking?
No. I was thinking, when you said that, I was kind of like, I wonder what he's going to pop out. But no, you said Ninja Scroll, I was kind of like, thank God he said it, because that was the exact same thing I was thinking of. The movie, fantastic.
Anime classic.
Yeah, exactly. And the TV series was like, I don't know what you did, but obviously you didn't watch Ninja Scroll.
I'm not gonna get Ninja Scroll. It's shame on you. Whoever wrote that series, shame. I don't know where that came from. I'm praying to God that isn't based on an original manga, because if it is,
that's just hurtful. If it was,
I've got no hope. Yeah. Then it's over. And let me group the last 2. I said 3. That was one of them. Two are series mangas that weren't series anyway. They were only 2 very short OVAs.
Okay.
I want to see a TV series of Cyber City or Weeda 808.
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah.
And Goku Midnight Eye.
What's that one?
Goku Midnight Eye is about a guy who has a computer in his eye, a supercomputer in his eye, and he can control any computer in the world. It sounds really goofy. I know it sounds really, really goofy. Those two, Cyber City and Goku Midnight Eye, are classic manga entertainment titles. You need to see them. Very, very short. Both of them easily could be a TV series, especially Cyber City or Weeda 808. Yeah. Cyberpunk at its greatest, so yeah, that's me, man.
No, the last one you said, the one with the guy with the super cute new eye. The thing is, I didn't know what the title for it was, but I've heard the synopsis for that one. But I was like, what was that called? So, but no, yeah. Those two would be interesting, especially Cyber City as well. That would be interesting to see being made into a full-length series.
I'm really surprised about Cyber City. It seems very easily done. These cops, juvenile cops. It's great. Everyone that seems loves it. But I'm halfway through my list, by the way.
That's fair enough. My list is long, but I've just picked random ones from it anyway. So, what's another one I had? I'm going to give you the English title. I can't remember what the Japanese title was. What it's called. This was called Chrome Shelled Regios. It was an anime that came out about 2009, and it's based on a light novel as well. But this is one series that I saw had like huge potential to go really far, but it felt like they were trying to get a lot done in the
We reviewed
in the
it.
first. Yeah, I think you reviewed it. They tried to get a lot done in the first half, but the second half, it kind of just like they took the main character and went, "Nah, we'll just give this review," and I was like, "No, that's not. You've missed out a shitload of stuff involved in this story."
Again, it was another anime. I was just like, the only thing I didn't like about the anime, like I remember saying in the review, the main character, he's just like a teenager, or maybe like he's 19 or something, and he seemed to have gone through so much. Like he was so wise. It just kind of annoyed me. And I love the concept reminds me of Final Fantasy VIII with these schools in the desert.
Yeah.
Kind of, and they have to fight the things out of their own school, and the whole school's a military. The whole thing was good. It had really, really good concepts, but the series was just the way it played out was just like, oh, this was just a waste, waste of potential.
I bought the light novels that came with it. I mean, they're all in Japanese, so I was kind of like, okay, I knew roughly what the story concepted of and everything that led up to the current volumes and everything. But it's the thing though, that like when you find out how much more was involved in, there's like, what could they've actually done with the series? You're like, why did you only go this far and then put this at the end of it? You could have so taken it further. I mean, granted, like the story of Laython himself it's a little bit like, okay, he is ridiculously powerful for someone so young. He is considered an elite of the type of the school of martial arts that he learns, but the thing, one thing I like though is that he had that dark side to him where he was like, I'm doing what I need to do to survive, and if means I have to gamble, I would trade my pride to do it, because pride doesn't put food on the table.
Yeah, true.
So that's one of the things I liked about it, because he was like, you had like Nina, who was like the very naive, like, oh, I'm going to be this and this fight for justice, and it's like, yeah, that's all good. You've got that pride to become good at what you do, but let's be fair, will that put food on the table for you? No, it doesn't. And what I did ensured that the orphanage I was staying at stayed open and survived.
For some reason, this reminds me of another series I saw recently called, I know you're going to say it's not the same, Broken Blade.
No, I know Broken Blade. That's a good manga and film. It was like 6 movies. They were all really, really good.
Yeah. Really good. It was, you know what? It was one of those ones I was like, the story's pretty meh, but the animation and the battles was great.
I mean, the manga's actually done quite well as well for itself. It's like, I know it got licensed for the UK, or it got licensed in the West. And it was, I think they managed to release 3 volumes before someone pulled the license on it. And I'm not sure why they did, but it's a good story. Very good story.
All right, well, I've only got 4 left. One of them I'm not going to go into because we already spoke about it. I want them to redo Soul Eater. We already spoke about why, though.
That's the one. That's good.
I'm not going to bother. One I want to see, which I don't really know why it hasn't happened, is I would like to see a TV series of Akira. I recently finished reading the manga.
Yeah, I read the manga as well not that long ago, and that is a hefty read, as you know as well, but I can't see that being made into a series. If it was made into, say, like 6, maybe like what they did with Broken Blade, 6 short films or 6 films, that might be better.
Oh, you know what? I will actually agree with you there. To be honest with you, 26, it seemed they would milk it. Feature movie series makes more sense. Yeah, I agree with you there. I totally agree.
Let's see. Now, this one I'm going to throw out there just because I liked how the anime ended, but how I found the manga went, I was kind of like, and that's Shaman King.
I've heard nothing but praise about how that's one of the best mangas, shonen mangas ever made, but obviously I heard the anime was not done well at all.
The anime, I mean, granted, it was like another 4Kids production, and it was butchered, like, well, not butchered, it was done to the point where they got just before they're about to start the actual Shaman King tournament, and it was like, all right, we've just stopped there. You're like, where's the rest? Like, the rest of it, like, because I own like a very poor subdivision, but I know I can understand it to the point where I know exactly what's going on in there. And the anime series was about 54 episodes, maybe 60 episodes long, and it was good. It was really actually a very good series, especially with the anime original ending. Like, what they did was, like, they ended at this really good point where, like, they've done the Shaman King tournament, but there is a possibility that they can go back to do it again. You're like, this leaves it open to continue. But the manga, however, took some proper weird, like I said with the one I said earlier, like, it probably did a 90-degree turn, like, and I was like, I didn't expect it to go this way. But the way the manga ended, I liked. I didn't mind it as much as I probably claim I didn't claims I didn't like. It had a good ending, and that's what gave rise to the sequel manga that they've done now, Shaman King Flower.
Yeah, I've heard about that, and I think one of the guys I really like on YouTube, Ubi Hikari's been talking about. They did the prequel manga as well, didn't they?
They did. I don't think I've read that one. I didn't even know it existed. What was that one called?
I can't remember, but one guy that I really like, I'll send you a link to it after we finish.
Cool.
But one guy really, really loves the franchise, and I recently did write a review for it, slamming it. But I did expect it to be bad because I did watch the 4Kids version anyway, because it was one of those shows that everyone you have to see it, and then it was just really silly. But I do understand I didn't get a real representation after seeing what they did to One Piece. Come on, I know that.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't take it for what I saw. It's and I have to read the manga. I consider reading the manga, but from what I saw, there was one character that was what's that girl's name? Super bitch.
Anna.
Yeah, super bitch.
That she's bad, and you should read it in the manga. It's even more hilarious what she gets away with. I
heard that they do explain why she is that bad. I did actually read what had happened to her and why she's that way, and I did find
it was just it's that's the thing though. It's like I remember when I was at university and I had like Sky or NTL back then before it was Virgin, and they were showing Shaman King on Fox Kids or whatever.
Yeah,
and it was on, and a friend of mine whose name was Alex, he went to me, dude, you need to watch this show. Like, it was called Shaman King, and like, Midamaru was like freakishly awesome in it. So I was like, all right, fine. But just coincidentally, after he told me, I managed to find an episode, and it was actually episode 1. Sat down to watch it, followed it all the way through to episode 25. That's as far as they got, as far as I know, dubbed. And it was actually very good. I mean, even the voice acting for the dubbed Shaman King wasn't that bad.
It wasn't. It was, and I have to say, it was funny. Shaman King was actually very funny.
That's one of the few animes we can take and go, the dubbing for it wasn't that bad. The only shame was they never finished it.
By the way, sorry to cut you, the antagonist in Shaman King was very good. He was very clever.
And
I think that, the way he went around what he was doing, he was just using the protagonist. He said, hey, you're going to join me. And then when you find out the brothers and all that other stuff, it was okay. It was good.
Yeah, no, it was. That's the thing. And the manga does a good job filling it up. But that is one series. I mean, as much as I like the original, it's like Full Metal Alchemist, like the original series. I like how that went down. Same with Shaman King. But if they did a retelling, I'd have no problem watching it and liking it again.
Okay. All right. Well, I've got one that is just... if any of you Final Fantasy VII lovers out there, if you watch that OVA they made called Last Order,
yeah, I know that one,
and you got a taste of what an anime of Final Fantasy VII would be like,
the one with Zack kicking all the soldiers. Oh, that was awesome.
Final Fantasy VII the anime. I can't say a retelling because there wasn't. There's really no story. That was just an OVA, but. They've made some Final Fantasy series that are not related to any of the games because the whole series is not related to each other at all anyway. But, Final Fantasy VII for a franchise that is so popular, and particularly that game that's got about 4 different spin-offs of the game anyway, including Crisis Core, which I fucking adored. Anime series needs to happen, man. I'm still holding, but technically it's not a retelling, is it? That's just a whole anime in itself.
That's just like you said. If you don't have to play the game, you can watch the anime.
Ooh, don't say that. Don't say that. That's bad. That's wrong.
Well, no, that's the thing. I played Final Fantasy VII. I've clocked it. I own it as well. But it's one of the things that if people like now were like, oh, do I really have to go back to play Final Fantasy? That blocky characters. You're like, well, you're missing out on a great story and a great game. Some people are like, well, if you don't want to play that, there's the anime if they ever made one.
True. And the story is really good in Final Fantasy VII. Yeah. The story is a great... And if you add the Crisis Core story, if you go from Zack's beginnings all the way to the end of Cloud and Wabs of Ares and Sephiroth, you've got a fucking amazing anime. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Ugh. That would be a good series, actually.
But yeah, I know that technically doesn't count, but that's on my list, and I've only got one more left. So you're up.
What have I got here? Black Cat.
Why do you keep picking series that hurt me? I hated that series, man.
That's the thing. So I wasn't particularly fond of how that went down. So I was reading the manga prior to the anime coming out, and the manga is a very good, lighthearted story. But the thing is, when the anime came on, I was like, you've just entirely rewritten everything about this. I'm like, what is this? This isn't Black Cat. This isn't what made the manga great. You've just taken Kentaro's work and changed it entirely.
Boy, you really are you are the ultimate optimist. You're taking titles out that I hated, and you want them to redo it and give them some new life, man. You know, the breaking point for me in the anime was there's a point where he actually wore a bell around his neck like a cat.
No, yeah, he does that in the manga as well. That was supposed to be him showing his freedom.
And every time he moved, it's like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like with the anime, I mean, it was. I have to admit, I was. No, I'm not going to say even a little. I was upset the way the anime went down, but that's why I love reading the manga so much, because I can just go back to it and go, thank God, this is how it was meant to be.
I guess. Anyway.
I think you got one more, haven't you?
Yeah, I thought I actually got two, but one doesn't count, and I'll tell you why the one doesn't count. I was going to say Guyver.
I was going to say that too.
The thing is, yeah, the 2006 remake didn't like it.
Yeah,
and the reason why I like it is just because it was toned down.
No, the toned down thing isn't a problem for me. The problem was, though, is that they didn't do it how the manga did it. But the manga's finished.
Oh, it's still ongoing, mate.
I heard it was finished. I heard it was like what volume was it? Volumes 27, chapter 86 was the end or something like that?
No, it's been going on since the 80s and it still ain't over.
If it's still going on, how can they still not get it any further?
That's why I'm saying I couldn't. I loved Guyver growing up. I loved it so much. All right. I will say this: the story was great. The remake story was good, but the gore was a very, very big selling point for me.
Yeah, it was uncut violence. There was a need for that. Like the original 15 episode OVA, was it 15 or 12 episode?
12.
Yeah, the 12 episode OVA that they did. It was like. That was great, but it was uncut. They went all the way out, like blood, guts, everything, and then the TV series came, and I was like, "Oh, you've really toned it down. You've introduced something which you're not going to even explain or go any further."
But like you said, the story was still very, very good. And the thing is, and sorry, people, I'm going to spoil this if you haven't seen it. The thing I liked about the world becoming very integrated with Zoonoids. I thought that made sense because the way Kronos was going on... It was
going to happen eventually anyway.
It was about to happen. So I was, you know what, I believe this. And them going into hiding, and then, you know, I heard so much funny things about that alien suit that gets swapped around between the guys.
Oh, gigantic Guyver unit, yeah.
Yeah, I want to see that. I even want to read the manga. I'm going to read the manga anyway. But from what I understand, the manga's still ongoing.
I heard it ended. That's the thing, though. So if it's still ongoing, I'll be surprised. So...
We'll look into that afterwards, but you know that isn't my pick because it just isn't. My last pick is one of the first animes I ever downloaded. It was by all the years of us buying manga when we got the internet. The second anime I ever downloaded was an anime called Flame of Recca.
Yes, I know Flame of Recca. That's awesome.
Flame of Recca, man.
That needs a freaking sequel or a complete and utter rebooting or retelling.
Yeah, because I remember loving it so much and all that. You know, the worst part was, man, it got dubbed about 4 years ago. I was so happy. I went and bought it.
Wow.
Watched it, and you know what? My memory wasn't that great because when I watched Flame of Recca the second time, it wasn't as good as I remembered, and the dub was bad. And what I saw from it, I was like, this reminds me a lot of Yu Yu Hakusho. This is very, very similar. You know, Yu Yu Hakusho came out way before this anyway, but still, and from what I understand, the ending, it ends in the game. It ends in the game. They actually have an ending that ends in the game and not in the actual anime, obviously. So, but yeah, I would like to see a remake of it. But after watching it recently, I actually wanted to write a review, like old versus new, because, you know, I loved it when I was young, but watching it again, I was like, it wasn't as great as I remember. Still good, though. It's a very good shonen anime. I think if they redid it, it would be much, much better. And if they ended it properly, I think it's a really great story.
Yeah, no, it's completely ended. And I think a couple of years ago they released a sort of like an OVA or a movie that kind of tied it all up.
I looked for that, and they said that OVA was a cut from the game.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
It was cut from the game, and that's the ending actually cut from the games. I was like, really?
Oh, no, but my brother read the ending of Flame of Recca, and he told me how it all went down. So I was kind of like, that stuff, that's the thing, though. This is like old school stuff that they should have easy by now made a series to conclude it all off, or even just retell it as quickly as they do. But, you know, that's the way, I suppose, the anime industry is going at the moment.
If they did with Flame of Recca, it'll be really good.
Yeah.
I think it has very, very high potential. Very high potential. Go on. That's me. I'm done. That's my list. I know that's a long answer, but Habib, you're up.
All right, I'm going to make this my last one, just because it's probably easy to just leave it there. Ichigo 100%.
I still haven't seen it.
That is a very... It's not normally what I... Actually, no, screw it. It's one that I pick up from time to time where I fancy something different. And Ichigo 100% was just that really sweet harem story, and I just loved how it all went down in the manga. I mean, granted, the anime, I think it went about 12 episodes, maybe 15 with a couple of OVAs afterwards. But that semi-followed the manga quite closely. And I was really hoping that they would actually finish it all off, because at the end, how it all went down, I was kind of like, oh, that's really awesome. I like how this ended. I really want to see this animated and, completely done. And it was a sweet story. It was at the time I graduated university and I just finished with my media degree and everything. And I was looking to get back into filming. And this is one of those things where it kind of spoke to what I wanted to do. And I was like, this is fantastic. I love this series. And I wanted that to happen to me as well. But, it's reality and it doesn't.
I don't know if you say it's a harem, then I got the gist of it. But for someone who hasn't seen the anime, should I just read the manga then?
Yeah, read the manga. If you can find Ichigo 100%, just read the manga.
Yeah, I'll find it. Is it complete?
Yeah, it's completed.
All right, cool. So I hope... who asked that question? Let me go back and find it.
I hope we actually answered the question.
She said to you, what's our top... to get a reboot, and we named it. Kind of. Yeah. That was Shiro Kazuma.
I mean, I had more that I could probably go into, but let's be fair, that we don't want to prattle on any further, so...
Well, you might have to bring them up, because our last two questions are very similar.
Okay, fair enough. let's get...
The last two ones I didn't have time to think about, so I do apologise, last two questions, if we don't get to answer them, because I actually don't have time to think about it, and podcasts going on a while now, so... But anyway... This next question comes from Blackbane24. What animes would you like to see sequels of without the reboot? Did we answer this kind of?
I don't think we went into specifics of what we'd like to see with sequels. I think we talked... I mean, if we're talking straight up sequels, there are a few I can think of.
You go, because I need to think about it myself.
What did I like to see a sequel to? I want to see, obviously, Full Metal Panic get another sequel, and that completely done.
Perfect. I don't want to see it redone. It was done perfectly the first time. Add more to that. I agree.
My personal one is that I spoke about this before. Chrome Shell Regios. I want to see that continued. I would love to see a sequel to that. What was the other one? There was Mabarahu. I wanted to see a sequel to.
Is that the magician boy?
Yeah, just because the manga was still ongoing. I want to know what was going to happen with that. Another one was called Louis the Ruined Soldier. I wanted to see that. This is because that was so friggin' funny. I needed to know what happened after you left the kingdom. Mm-hmm. What else was there? Claymore, I would like to see a sequel to.
Without a reboot?
No, without the reboot.
Yeah, but it apparently kind of ruined... No, it didn't, actually, because they just had a fight that didn't even resolve, so they could continue. You're right.
It left it... Like, with Claymore, it was very open-ended, so you can easily do one. Berserk, I blatantly want to see a sequel to that. Don't get me wrong. The Golden Arc that they've done the movie remakes for are good. They've done it to be more violent. You've got more story done to it, and it looks rich and nice. I haven't seen it. But I don't want to see that again. That's what the TV series is for. I want to see the shit that happened afterwards. I want to see the Dark Age.
The Dark Swordsman.
Yeah, because there's a lot in there during the manga, and I'll probably ask you this after we've finished recording, but there's a lot of stuff in there which I was unsure of about, like how certain things went down and how we got to this point here and there.
It's like I said, I don't like the universe. The universe of Berserk feels different after the whole Golden Age arc. It feels way too fantasy-ish for me, with fairies and all this stuff, and I that was the first manga I ever bought. I mentioned this before, and Guts' story is so horrible, so horrible. It's like, is this guy ever gonna get any peace? And it looked like it was just so hard to... It's a fantastic story, but it's just... Guts looks like a really tortured soul that is not going to get any reprise. It's just really sad. I can't read this anymore.
No, exactly. That's the thing, though. It was the exact same thing for me. I was like... As I was reading it, after like the anime series ended, I was kind of like, okay, I need to see where this is going up until now. So I sat down to it. But then there were parts in the story where I got seriously confused about certain things. I was kind of like, okay, I need to ask someone who's read it more clearly than I have. But like I said, I'll ask you this after we finish recording and whatnot.
You can ask me. You're better off asking that cat face. I'll see what I can answer for you. But anyway, we'll get on to the very, very last question. And this is a question I really wish I had more time to answer, because I really think this would have been good. But it goes back to Fate Zero, believe it or not. What animes would you like to see prequels of?
Prequels to...
Now, the funny thing is, you probably would have said Fate Stay Night.
No, actually, I wouldn't. GTO. I want to see the Shonen Days animated.
Okay.
What else was there that I want to see animated as a prequel?
Do you want to hear mine?
Yeah, go on then.
I want to see, you know what? I think there's a potential for a Rurouni Kenshin prequel with his master. I want to know his master story.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one, but I'm pretty sure they've wrapped it up in the series, didn't they?
But I want to know how he learned Hinta Mitsurugi style. I want to know about his past, because how he became very jaded as he is. He's kind of like, I don't want to get involved in anything, don't get involved in these matters, this, that, and the other. What made him that way? How did he learn the style, his master? I think and because his story would be set in the deeper war period of that.
The Bakumatsu era, yeah.
Yeah, that establishment. I would really like to see how he, became the guy he did before he meets Kenshin.
No, that would be interesting, I suppose. But I thought they actually wrapped it up in the manga. But I don't know if there's a chance that could happen. I don't see why not.
He outlives Kenshin as well.
In the manga, that's not true. Kenshin's alive.
Really? Okay, I need to ask you about that.
Have you not read the manga?
I haven't read the manga.
Oh, dude, I was there like, wait a minute. When you first said you wanted to redo Kenshin, I'm like, there's something wrong here. Well, okay, no, we'll discuss that afterwards, yeah.
All right. Well, prequels, there's one anime that really, talk about done wrong. There's one anime, Tenju Tenj. The anime starts, and then it focuses the majority of it on its own prequel.
Oh, Tenjo Tenga, yeah. That's pretty much how the manga went.
It's like, and then it goes back to present day and it doesn't end. It's like, what was the point?
Yeah,
you told all this backstory and then you don't continue to. To be honest with you, I'm just bringing it up as an anime that did things really weirdly. You start the story, then you went into a prequel in the anime, and then you didn't even finish off the anime itself. And it's like, what?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like a typical Ogre story. It's like he does focus a lot on doing a lot of flashbacks, and then when you get back to the main story, you're like, right, we're going to get to the core of it all, and it's like, no, I'm just going to cut it here, and then I'll do like a movie release and a couple of OVAs and done. I
looked for all the movies and OVAs, the Ultimate Fight, or whatever it was called, still didn't finish anything.
Yeah, no, it didn't. That's the thing. It just left you with, right, Soichiro's going off to learn a new technique. I is still infatuated with it. He's got his hair cut. His hair's gone black. He's done chakra moves. Everyone else is training up for the big tournament. And that's it, done. And he just had to. And then like the manga, I only finished reading the manga like a couple of weeks ago. It was like I bought all the like uncut volumes that they finally released, and I was like, finally, I can now finally understand how the story finished.
Yeah, so to be honest with you, I know there's so many animes I've seen where I've been like, you know what, I want to know what happened before this.
Mm-hmm.
And another disappointing one, very disappointing one, was Fist of the North Star had a prequel called Fist of the Blue Sky.
Yeah, I know of that one.
And I thought it was going to focus on Ryuken, Ken's master, but it doesn't. It focuses on the predecessor before Ryuken, which is and that story is so oddball. That anime is just... It's so oddball. It's just some gang rivalry story mixed with Fist of the North Star. It could have been called anything else. It just has Fist of the North Star fighting in it, and it's just not... it doesn't show you anything about, how the nuclear war happened, what was going on within that period, because that's what you want to know. You want to know how things became before, Fist of the North Star story started.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, they go 25 years before that, and you don't find that. So, still waiting to find out about Ryuken's story, but, I wish I had time to think about a prequel, but I don't. I think I'll revisit this question on a future podcast. You got any more before we wrap up?
I'm just trying to think what other ones would deserve a prequel.
Whenever you see an anime where you see a good, like a lot of shonen anime, you have a master that's training the protagonist, and the master's so powerful.
Yeah.
Wondering, what was that about? What how did that master become that person? That's usually where I want to see a prequel anime. There's not a lot that warrants it, but there's a couple of series where I've been like, I want to know that person's story. Let me have a prequel of that person's story, even if it's just an OVA. But most times, it doesn't happen. I mean, if I just spitball in some titles, would anyone want to see a prequel to Eva? I don't think so.
No, because Eva's already done its prequel. They've already kind of explained it as the series progresses on, isn't it?
They have. They do. They explain everything about the disaster. So, I was just spitballing. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I honestly can't think of anything right now. But I think it's a very good question that I will answer at a future date.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think if there's any others I can think of that would warrant a prequel. Probably not, because most series that we watch, anime series we watch, tend to kind of wrap up most of it. If not at the beginning, they kind of do it in the middle when people are like, okay, what is this leading into? And then there's a part where a flashback normally tells everything you need to know. But
do you know what I might do? I might make a topic of it on Planet Tyro.
Yeah.
What anime do you want to see a prequel of? And then I think it will make it easier for me to go back and add things. So, but hey, you know what, people? Why don't you email us? Email us your prequels for anime series. The email address is planettyro@gmail.com, planettyro.com. No, it's not wrong. planettyro@gmail.com. I got confused. You guys know the email. You should know the email address by now. But yeah, if you have any ideas for anime prequels or what you think deserves a prequel, I think, would I want to see a prequel of Hunter x Hunter, that Gon's dad? To see how he became, I don't like it when characters, my dad's a great hunter, he does all these things, but you don't know who the hell he is. Like, who is Gon's dad? Or what great things did he do? Show me. But usually they save those things for after when the anime's done, because they don't want to reveal the mystery.
Yeah, that's probably why a lot of shows don't get prequels, mainly because they want to save the majority of the good stuff for like OVAs or DVD extras or TV fillers or whatever.
In saying that, let me say this: when I saw the Dragon Ball Z prequel, Bardock, Goku's dad, I thought that was a good prequel.
No, it was. That was one that was actually thought out quite cleverly as a thing.
Very, very well. And when you put it in context, if you saw that before, Dragon Ball, that would ruin a lot of the surprise. It just made the mythos so great that, wow, you thought you didn't know the whole history of Thingy and seeing how fucked up Frieza was.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but anyway, I think we've paddled on enough, man. You got anything else to say, Habu?
No, I think I'm pretty much done, dude. I can't think of any other series that could warrant a prequel ones that we've already discussed and gone through. But I mean, just suppose to see what people come up with on the thread, I guess.
Yeah, we will.